This is the story of Yun Chen. He's in the school, then he notices that there is a guy bragging that he had changed his profession and made a contract with 3 beasts, so he tells people to join his team to carry them in the entrance exam. It has been 3 years since Yun Chen arrived in that world. This amount of time is enough to understand this strange world. In the world he is in, 70 years ago an event happened that changed everything. The world of a game and the real world merged and life changed drastically. It is now just like a game. Levels, professions and equipment have become a way to evaluate people. As the people level up, the human body becomes stronger. Strong professions and skills make people have stronger combat ability. But not all that glitters is gold, because of this, the world is never at peace. The monsters of the game are also there, causing an absolute chaos. This is quite an interesting world for Yun Chen. A teacher named Jin Sheng arrives to run to the students who stayed after class. He then turns to Yun Chen, asks him why he hasn't changed his profession considering the entrance exam is coming up. Jin warns him that he may become a wanderer without a profession. He also adds that even though not having a profession gives him many skills, they are skills that do not improve those of a beginner, so he cannot be strong like that. In conclusion, Jin asks him to listen to his advice, because if Yun Chen changes his profession, he can get a good grade. Yun Chen doesn't care. He doesn't just want to have a good grade, he also wants the first place. He doesn't care about skill and attribute points, as he can still get them while he is still without a profession, with the help of the system. Yun Chen trains running, sit-ups, push-ups, squats. Attribute and skill points can only be obtained by others by leveling up, while Yun Chen only needs to complete daily missions. Just as the teacher has told him, the biggest weakness of someone without a profession is that he has too many skills and not enough skill points to use them. But this is not the case for Yun Chen, because with the skill points system, he only needs enough time and he will have all the profession skills maxed out. He is an all-rounder. Most of his skills are maxed out, so he will only add attributes this time. The system is very good, very convenient to control, and only he can see it. Yun Chen usually distributes the attributes equally, 2 points to each. The system never disappoints Yun Chen, who aims to be the first place in the entrance exam. The next day we met at the plaza where the exam would start. Jin tells Yun Chen that the dungeons have a total of 3 difficulties. When a dungeon opens, the exam starts. The higher the difficulty, the higher the score, and the smaller the team, the more points too. To finish, Professor Jin tells everyone not to overestimate themselves, as the monsters in the dungeons are real and if they die inside, they will die for real. With that said, the door opens and the exam begins. Most people choose to move in a group, as living is the most important thing. Only the rocket class dare to go alone. Soon after they notice that a non-rocket class person is doing the dungeon alone. That was Yun Chen, who had chosen the nightmare difficulty. Yun Chen's weapons are rare. Well, not rare, he just has a lot of them. People realize that this is because he hasn't chosen any profession. People were shocked that someone did not choose a profession. They consider Yun Chen an idiot. Jin Sheng gets angry, as he did not imagine that Yun Chen would not change his profession until the end, and not only that, he also chose the difficulty of nightmare. Because of this, the school principal asks Jin for an explanation. Jin nervously replies that because of Yun Chen's talent, it is better for him not to have any profession at all. Let's go back to Yun Chen. A nightmare range dungeon is just as he expected. The fact of being there makes him feel shivers and fear. Yun Chen's equipment is very varied. Spear, pistol, scepter, gauntlets, many weapons and skills that we will have to see if he is able to use well. In the nightmare rank dungeons many people have died. People watched in amazement as Yun Chen ran into the dungeon, proving that he was able to control fear. Yun Chen began to fight a group of goblins, using his novice mage skill, Fireball, causing a huge explosion that defeated most of the goblins. The audience was open-mouthed, as the power of that fireball is even stronger than what mages can learn. A staff? No, the form of the weapon changes. Yun Chen has a sword and a staff, a weapon that can be used as both a staff and a sword, then uses wind cut to defeat the remaining goblins. That's overkill to me, to be honest. Even though Yun Chen's rookie skills are too strong, the audience now cheered for Yun Chen, who by himself is the equivalent of a mage, assassin, and swordsman. It is impressive that Yun Chen can run so fast while carrying so much equipment. This too debate that it is because perhaps Yun Chen has put all his attributes into endurance. The director was impressed as well. Jin Sheng tells him that Yun Chen's talent is to be an all-rounder. The director mentions that only a few can awaken a talent ability according to the talent. The choice of profession is also affected. Those who awaken magic talents will choose magic-related professions. Those who awaken warrior talents will choose swordsman or assassin. There are also talents for daily life professions like cooking or cleaning. But the point is that the awakened talent will decide the choice of profession. The director laments that Yun Chen's all-rounder talent is only able to increase the rank of novice skills to the quality of C+, which he considers good for the beginning, but not for further advancement. These two praise Yun Chen's skills, but also regret that his limit is low and think it is not worth providing him with resources. Jin Sheng sighs as he warns Yun Chen to choose a profession. He thinks that the further he goes, the weaker he will become, but I don't think so. Yun Chen continues to advance through the dungeon until he reaches the entrance to the next room, opening the door to find hundreds of goblins with unfriendly faces. From level 12 goblins to level 14 goblins, Yun Chen uses his analysis skill to see the class of each goblin. There are about 100 goblins of all kinds, and the terrain he is in does not seem to be favorable at all. The goblins start attacking, the shamans give buffs, the knights charge and the mages use spells. Letting them move freely would be problematic for Yun Chen, so he uses illumination, temporarily blinding the enemies. Yun Chen will start by killing the weak and dangerous mages, then the goblins charge, but Yun Chen uses clone, which has all the skills of the assassin type and 35% of the user's attributes. Yun Chen uses his skills to defeat the goblins, then the boss starts to go into berserk mode. Yun Chen determines that it is not yet time to fight the boss. After that he uses water elemental summoning. The audience was upset because they changed the broadcast. They all wanted to see Yun Chen and shouted for him to come back. In the broadcasting room, one of them thinks that Yun Chen has already been given too much screen time, so they should give the spotlight to other students, but his colleague thinks it is better to keep showing Yun Chen because of his popularity. Yun Chen is able to use magical abilities instantly. His skills are strong and he has grasped the skills of an assassin, including summoning techniques. This fellow, as an assassin teacher, acknowledges that Yun Chen's level of control is at the level of a teacher. In fact, many elite assassins are not even similar to him. He is a fighting genius. Yun Chen is back on screen. By the time he reappears, he has summoned 3 water elementals. While they were taking care of the goblins, Yun Chen was preparing to fight the Centurion boss. Yun Chen knows that since that is a nightmare rank boss, it will be troublesome if he doesn't use some tricks, even though he already knows the moves the boss will do. That's why he uses his trap skill to hold him for a few seconds, and while he was immobilized, he throws a lot of fireballs at him. Even after attacking the boss in this way, Yun Chen knows that this is not enough and tells him to stop acting, even though he is left in a rather deplorable state. The boss wants to activate his Earth Stomp skill, but that's something Yun Chen won't allow, so he uses Root Entanglement and gives him a few whips. Next, he uses Ice Bullets, which cause damage and lowers movement speed by 35%, repeatedly hitting the boss, then combines Flying Drone, Thunder, Water Arrow and Water Bullets. Yun Chen isn't even letting the boss breathe. It's a miracle that the boss is still in complete pieces. The Centurion boss hasn't been able to do any damage and is already dead. Yun Chen's combo blew everyone away. The fight was decided since the boss stepped on the trap. He never had a chance. What terrifies the bigwigs watching the test is that Yun Chen has used his brain to use his skills. Considering all combination, the fire and electricity attribute overlap to paralyze the Centurion, if you add the speed reduction to that. This girl stresses that the most important detail is that Yun Chen aimed at the goblin's foot. Making it unable to use War Stomp was the key to his victory. This guy has no choice but to admit that Yun Chen, despite being a non-professional, has too many skills that he can use like a professional. They tell Professor Jin that with Yun Chen's skills, he could easily enter the top 5 in the province, and has a chance to break the school record. The principal believes that Yun Chen will undoubtedly make it to the top 3 and mentions that he will help the school to be recognized. Yun Chen's performance is such that there are people like this girl who thinks that having no profession is great. She even mentions to her teacher that she no longer wants to be a magician, because she wants to copy Yun Chen. The teacher reprimands her and tells her that she will not be able to copy him and asks her to give up such unrealistic thinking. She ends up telling her 2 students that this is not a game, but reality, and doing things as Yun Chen is doing is reckless. They can only learn from him, but not copy him. With all the monsters dead, Yun Chen moves forward with his summons. He chose not to rest after fighting the boss. He goes straight to the next stage. The headmaster complains to Jin that this is too reckless, as the other students haven't even entered the boss room. Yun Chen has plenty of time to rest. Jin mentions that Yun Chen must want to rush for time, as that is part of the grading. The teacher from before laments as he thinks Yun Chen will die for acting so recklessly. He admits that Yun Chen is talented, but he thinks there is no way he will master all the weapons. And now that in the next round the monsters may be high level, adding that Yun Chen has used a lot of mana and has not rested to recover. The easy monsters are over, only high level goblin mages and shamans are left. Yun Chen's summoning beasts will be gone soon, so he is going to take full advantage of them before that happens. The goblins attack Yun Chen, but he sends his summons to block the attacks. Then the fight begins. Yun Chen might be out of mana, but not out of options. The director mentions that Yun Chen is making use of the divine gunman profession, having a quick shot, critical bullet, quick reload, hot pursuit, slide, explosive bullet, aerial shot, and many more skills. It has the most novice rank skills among all professions and is known as the most complicated profession. Jin says that to cause great damage, Yun Chen has to hit all the bullets, which is difficult to do in combat. So does this guy. The battle begins. Yun will surprise them all again. The first shot has hit the target using Hot Pursuit, a skill capable of accumulating up to 25 layers, along with killing intent. Using the novice divine gunslinger skill, Slide, Yun Chen dodges the goblin attacks and responds with rapid fire. At one point, he seems to be cornered by the attacks, but moves quickly to dodge, and making use of quick reload, critical bullet, and explosive bullet, he shoots the goblins, hitting each of them in the head. The audience was thrilled with the performance Yun Chen was giving. He had all the girls crazy about him. This guy has no choice but to swallow his own words. It is clear that Yun Chen is a genius. He has never seen such an amazing student before. Even the first places of the past years could not compare. The headmaster, who thought Yun Chen would be finished a few moments ago, now says that he is smart and has a lot of courage. This guy finds out something strange. Yun Chen hasn't used any potions, and according to the rules, students can take normal HP and magic power potions. Normal students would fill their backpacks with these potions, but Yun Chen hasn't used any. Jin mentions that it's not that Yun Chen hasn't used potions, it's that he couldn't carry them, as there is a space limit in a backpack and he equipped himself with traps and bombs, so he has no space. Yun Chen knows he can't make mistakes, but he is confident. He is not reckless, he is overconfident. Yun Chen starts moving again. Everything indicated that he would not rest and go straight into the next room. Yun Chen has used the guns too much, so now they are useless to him. But that pair has completed their mission. The director wondered why Yun had thrown away his pistols. Jin tells him that it is because they are of the lowest rank, black iron. The director complains to Jin for letting Yun in with junk guns, but Yun couldn't buy better ones. He has no parents, his family is poor, and he still needs to take care of his little sister. The director mentions that if he had known that before, he would have bought her some. Yun Chen arrives at the final boss room. With the current time, if he is able to kill the boss quickly, Yun Chen can become the champion of the province. The school has never taken first place in the province before, so if Yun Chen succeeds, the school's name will be etched in history. The principal warns Jin that if Yun Chen fails, he will fire him. Yun Chen is entering the final boss room, while the others are probably still fighting against the Centurion. Those in the audience believe that they will witness something historical. Yun Chen has not even used all his equipment yet. His real power has not been shown, but suddenly, the transmission changes again, making the viewers angry. However, this girl notices that something is not right, as she saw on the screen, someone died. The student who died was from the rocket class. The only one able to go to the final boss room was Yun Chen, while the other people are not only having tough battles, but more and more people are being killed by the Centurion. Fortunately, some students have managed to escape from the dungeon. Although not in a very good condition, they were quite injured. The spectators, being focused on Yun Chen's performance, forgot that this exam is the most difficult exam in history. Those superiors who barely escaped are much stronger than some of the spectators, and yet they ended up defeated and at worst dying. Some lose their hope and decide not to take the exam in the future, as they don't want to die. The principal proposes to bring Yun back so that someone will survive and improve everyone's morale and confidence. In previous years, when lower grade students were depressed, it was the third-year students in the rocket class who were used as motivation. But this year, the motivation is Yun Chen. And speaking of the devil, he is starting the final battle, where this monster that was even able to communicate with him was waiting for him. As he expected from the final boss of the nightmare rank, the pressure he exerts is terrifying. It's the first time Yun Chen encounters such an impressive monster, but it's a pity, because it's no match for Yun Chen, who then uses Blood Burst, a skill that increases all attributes by 80% for 20 seconds. After those 20 seconds, he enters a weak state where all attributes drop by 75%. Yun Chen will go all out. For the first time he will use the spear. Jin desperately just mentioned how reckless Yun Chen was for fighting like that, and the director was not even talking about it. He was fainting. Yun Chen starts to attack. The Goblin Lord recognizes how fast he will be attacked, but he doesn't take a step back and counter-attacks. What the spectators saw was Yun Chen being killed with one blow, but what they didn't know is that what the Goblin Lord hit was a clone. At the moment he charged towards the boss, he used the clone to attract his attention. His real body is behind the boss, who is hit by the clone, doing a lot of damage. Then he temporarily deprives him of his vision. Yun Chen was preparing to deliver the final blow, But things were far from over because due to the attack that the Goblin Lord received, he has entered a berserk state. Yun Chen's weapon shatters upon impact with the monster. Yun Chen uses roll up against the boss, knowing that he has only 13 seconds of blood burst left. Both of them prepare for the final confrontation. The spectators are surprised that Yun Chen's spear broke like that and the Goblin Lord is still intact. This guy explains that it's not that Yun Chen can't fight against the boss's defenses, it's actually the opposite. The director mentions that his attributes are high enough that by the time he enters the burst of blood state, and the boss in berserk mode, they have greatly increased his attributes. With so many upgrades and enhancements, a simple black iron ranked war spear is not able to withstand Yun Chen's power, and in that battle he should not be fighting with such a low caliber weapon. Jin is worried, since the burst of blood's usage time is very short and Yun has yet to break through the boss's defenses. If he dies, Jin will become the ultimate culprit for allowing him to fight using black iron weapons. The remaining time of burst of blood is 13 seconds. Yun wanted to finish this fight before the boss went into berserk mode. But the boss went into berserk mode prematurely. It won't be so easy and he doesn't have much time left. So he must find a quick way to break through the defenses as he analyzes the boss. He realizes that he has no weakness, then the Goblin Lord attacks him repeatedly but Yun Chen manages to dodge it. The Goblin Lord uses ground stomp, which makes Yun lose some balance. There are 9 seconds left of Yun's technique. The spectators were worried about him, everything looked really bad. The director says that if the range of his spear had been a bit higher, the fight would have been over long ago. The worst thing for Yun is that due to the lack of space in his backpack, he has no healing items, so being wounded there is not much he can do. The Goblin Lord is about to give Yun Chen a final blow, but with 7 seconds of skill remaining, he uses Spiked Vine. The spectators think that Yun is throwing skills in desperation. Yun Chen has figured it out, and logically speaking, any monster has weaknesses. With 5 seconds of skill remaining and with the gauntlets equipped, Yun knows that the Goblin Lord's weakness could not be seen by him, and that is because his weakness is right behind the cloak on his back. Yun Chen uses Fire Fist, and with the last 3 seconds of skill, launches his attack. The Goblin Lord manages to turn around and receives the attack away from his weak point, and thinks he has won, but Yun placed one of his weapons right where the boss would fall, and thus manages to defeat the Goblin Lord. Yun managed to clear the Goblin Dungeon on Nightmare level in a time of 14 minutes. The spectators were celebrating Yun's victory as he managed to defeat the final boss in 20 seconds. Due to the difficulty of the dungeon and the time it took to clear it, Yun Chen's level is SSS, and he was the first person to be recorded in the dungeon's ranking, receiving many experience, attribute and skill points. He also got shoulder pads, belt and green forest gauntlets, plus he now has the title of Goblin Assassin, which will do 25% more damage to goblins. Yun Chen went up 3 levels in a row, all signs point to him being the provincial champion. But he doesn't want to get overconfident before the results are in. Because he is the first person to complete that dungeon, he will be granted an achievement talent. He can choose between quick casts, which greatly shortens the magic casting time, attack aura, which increases attack speed by 30% and every third attack will cause 80% additional damage, and finally relentless, which when severely wounded, he will get a 100% attack increase and attack speed bonus. Considering the way he fights, Yun Chen chooses quick throw, then takes a look at the effects of the new equipment, all of which are gold level, much stronger than black iron. The whole green forest set gives him a passive ability. After 5 seconds out of combat, he will get continuous recovery of health, mana and stamina. It is a good equipment. If he will face against the Goblin Lord again, he is confident that he will be able to defeat him in 5 seconds. Yun Chen returns, where he is greeted by everyone as almost a god. The headmaster greets Yun and congratulates him, then together with Professor Jin, they take a photo. The headmaster tells him that the results of the exam will be out in a few days. Moments later, the headmaster's luxury car arrives to take Yun Chen home. The headmaster tells Yun that he reckons the worst result he can get is top 3 in the province. He also adds that when the results are announced, there will be rewards for the winners. If Yun Chen becomes the provincial champion, not only will his name be known, but also the name of Dongyun School. The headmaster receives a call from the education department. Yun Chen returns home, where he is greeted by his little sister Yun Tang with dinner. Yun's father died 10 years ago after the Orc King's invasion, while his mother worked very hard to take care of both of them, but ended up dying of a heart attack several years ago. Because of this, his family has had to survive on a meager income. The black iron equipment was an antique inherited from his father. Throughout those years, in order for Yun Chen to be allowed to practice his fighting skills, Yun Tang took over the household chores. He really admires his sister and wants to work very hard to pay her back for everything. And now, everything will be better. Yun Tang asks him about the exam. He replies that he did well. In fact, the headmaster mentioned that he is sure to be in the top 3 and will get a reward. Yun Tang is excited as that might mean they can eat meat at least once a week. Well, not once, every day if that's what they want. Yun Chen wants her sister to have a very good life. 5 days later, Yun Chen has completed the daily missions and has accumulated quite a few points. College skills are much higher than high school skills, especially the top 7 colleges, which even have novice hidden professions skills, so he will have to prepare himself. Back home, Yun Tang tells him that the exam results are in. Yun Chen is number 1 in Jiangnan province. Yun Chen didn't know that because he went out without his phone, he has many missed calls from the director, who calls him again and yells at him to come to the office in the afternoon, because the admission department will come, so that Yun Chen can choose a university. We go back to 3 years ago, in the talent test room. When touching a crystal, it was revealed that Yun Chen's talent was all-rounder. These guys made fun of him as they thought he was a rubbish talent. Professor Jin told Yun not to worry, his talent does not determine everything. He asked him to think that he does not have this talent and to change his profession. The fact that he received the all-round talent did not sit well with Yun Chen at first. He felt devastated, as he thought that with this talent he would have no future. Then his system activated and told him that it would help him to make the profession he chose become the strongest in the world. Yun Chen never thought he would have such a system, but this did not encourage him too much, as he was destined to be less talented than others. The system instructed him to select the profession plan. The profession he was linked with the system is no profession. At present, he is still someone without a profession, but he is still the champion of the province and wonders what kind of reward he will receive from the system. Yun Chen's all-round talent is leveled up. He is now a plus and all his skills are improved by 3 levels. He got a few more things. These are the S-class skill Divine Flash, a divine level item, Cross of Rebirth, and a new talent, Super Self-Healing. A completely incredible reward. That's not counting attribute and skill points. Your talent has been greatly improved and the limit has been increased. Rookie skills originally only had the power of level E and could at most reach level C, but now they can go up to level B+. The item Cross of Rebirth works as follows. After the death of the possessor, the cross will be consumed and a safe place to be reborn is selected. It is like a second life. As for Super Self-Healing, it will allow him to heal fatal wounds, and Divine Flash provides with a long-distance flash that can traverse space. Yun Chen was really excited about the rewards he had received. Yun Tang tells his brother that there is a commotion outside, as there is news that because he came first in the exam, the education department will give him money. Yun Chen thinks that other companies must be taking advantage of his name to advertise. Yun heads to the school, as the admissions office must be waiting for him. At the school, they interviewed people who are in the same room as Yun Chen. He has to be inconspicuous with a disguise, otherwise he wouldn't even be able to enter the school, and he fears that his house is now surrounded by reporters. In the meeting room, there were people from the best universities in the country with the intention of seeing Yun Chen. The professor of Qingda University admission office, Aohua, did not like the idea that Yun Chen has no profession and thinks that the college professors are depriving him of that, so he clarifies that if Yun Chen has no profession, he will not be able to enter Qingda. Then he continues to speak ill of those who have no profession, and it seems that he will not change his mind. A student from Qingda named Tian Yuanju mentions that Dongyun College is a pure country place, a small place. These two continue to belittle Yun Chen and say that he took advantage of a failure in the entrance exam. Teacher Jin intervenes to stop them from bad-mouthing Yun. This girl mentions that Yun Chen could go to Dongyun University in the province, so she asks Aohua to stop talking as if it's the only option available. Everyone is there to recruit, but the Qingda people are aware of some alleged failures in the admission test. Yun Chen suddenly enters and tells Yuanju what he wants to do to make sure there is no mistake. Yun Chen has heard everything from outside. He stands in front of Yuanju to challenge him to a challenge and prove that he has not cheated. Yun tells him that if he fails to beat him with 5 attacks, it will mean his defeat. Yuanju laughs at him, but ends up accepting the challenge. Jin tells Yun Chen not to get carried away, as Qingda University is one of the best, and that Yuanju has been there for a year, so he must have learned powerful skills. Yuanju tells him that he can no longer regret it. The manager thinks about how impulsive Yun Chen is. His opponent is level 19 while he is only level 13. It's a huge disadvantage. Let's go to the sports hall, the place where the showdown will be. All Yuanju has to do is resist Yun's 5 attacks. However, he boasts that he can take Yun Chen down in less than 3 attacks. At this point, both the director and Jin can only wait for Yun to surprise them. Yuanju is a first-class mage and laughs at Yun for wanting to confront him with a staff sword. Yun tells him that the sword form is damaged, so he can only use the staff form. But that will be enough against Yuanju. Yuanju gets angry at Yun's arrogance, so he prepares his attack using casting acceleration. He thinks Yun won't be able to defend against his attack, but he is wrong. because before he finishes his attack, Yun has already thrown a fireball at him. Yun's casting skill far surpasses Yuanju's. He has to interrupt his casting to use a defense spell. But the magic shield he used starts to break, receiving all the fireballs Yun threw at him. That was enough to end the fight. Yun came out victorious. Everything indicated that a student from Kingda was no big deal either. Jin is surprised, as the fight didn't even last 2 seconds. He used mage skills to instantly defeat a level 19 mage. The other people from other colleges looked surprised. The color of Yun Chen's fireballs were purple, so he has a lot of power. He has surpassed the level of a novice skill. They are surprised as within Yun Chen's resume. It said that his magic talent only allowed him level C skills. Of course, this was before he received the rewards from the system. The director already knows that Yun Chen's all-round talent has evolved. This girl was more than astonished. The weak point of those without a profession is that they have a very low limit, and over time the gap between novice skills and advanced skills becomes larger. But everything indicated that Yun Chen's limit may increase. He is a combat genius. The universities present were fighting to get Yun Chen to join one of them. Aohua continues with his disastrous attitude and continues to belittle Yun, even though Yun had just swept the floor with one of his students. Kingda University doesn't even have the face to be able to recruit Yun, so Aohua ends up leaving in shame without caring about his student. This girl asks Yun Chen to join Jiangnan University. She promises to give him the skill books of all professions. These books are not only limited to the Xuanlong country, but also to other countries, such as the professions exclusive to the Fusang country, and also those of the Western country. She adds that after Yun Chen enters, as long as he has good grades, she would reward him with low-level skills of hidden professions. Plus, the alchemy workshop of that university will take care of making a specific weapon for him, someone without a profession. A multiform weapon. The representatives from other universities are surprised. Jiangnan will use a lot of resources to take Yun Chen. Everything they offer Yun is not only incredibly rare, but also things that are suitable for someone without a profession. Yun Chen already has a clear decision. He clearly chooses Jiangnan University. It was the most reasonable thing to do, of course. The conditions of this university are very good, but there is another important point. This university is close to his home, so he can continue to protect his sister, good-thinking Yun. Yun Chen goes to the park, where he uses Divine Sparkle to place himself on top of this building. Yun receives new equipment, Formation Breaker, which allows him to have 3 forms of transformations. The Spear form, which increases armor penetration. The Longsword form, which applies bleed on attack, and the Scepter form, which increases magic armor penetration. It's like having 3 gold-level weapons. Finally, Yun won't have to carry 3,000 weapons. That weapon hasn't been used by anyone for a long time in the university, so it can be said that an owner has finally arrived for it. The quality of a weapon is divided into black iron, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and legend. Each quality has a rating between them and can be enchanted to increase the star rating and power. However, enchanting a weapon is risky. Failing to do so is likely to lower the quality of the weapon or destroy it. Yun Chen was not only brought weapons but also books of novice-level skills of some rare professions. Not all of them, but they will be enough for now. The rest is available in the university library. In addition to being granted a scholarship, Yun will be given a new house, so they give him both the key and the contract. It's a huge house. Yun Tang mentions that the house they used to live in was smaller than the bathroom of that one. She proposes to her brother to see the whole house, but Yun was too busy reading the books he was given. Let's go to a flashback. 70 years ago, the game Divine Dominion came out and hundreds of millions of people were playing. Many players did not choose to start with the human race, but chose elves, orcs, dwarves, among others. Later, when the game overlapped with reality, these lineages also merged with the players. Over time, many people with special lineages have married common people, thus creating humans with special lineages. It is also worth noting that not only the profession and dungeon system, but also the game's large map, NPCs and monsters were integrated with reality. This has led to the expansion of the land area, making the topography of the world very different from what it used to be. Dongyun City is only a small place, so it is difficult to meet with other races. Coming to Jiangnan University is that Yun will be able to get to know the real world. The following days, as Yun completed daily missions, he became obsessed with learning, and after a month, he not only learned skills of rare professions, but also trained very hard, getting used to using the formation-breaking demon. In the remaining half a month, he has taken his sister Yun Tang to play everywhere, going to places they only dared to look at before, until finally the day of returning to the university came. Before leaving, Yun tells his sister to let him know about anything on the phone, and if she wants to buy anything, to do so. Yun goes to Jiangnan University. We are going to Jiangnan Province, Channan City, as Yun expected from one of the 7 best universities in the country. It is amazing. This girl is in charge of Yun's student record. When people become aware of his identity, they start to approach him because of the exploits they have heard about. It's going to be hard not to get noticed by being first among the new students. This girl explains to Yun that the top students will have advantages, like lots of college credit, which works like currency there, but it's not the only advantage. The girl takes Yun to the dormitory area. On the way, she asks Yun if he has thought about which faculty to enter. In Jiangnan University there are 5 faculties. War faculty, which covers what is related to the battlefield and exists to teach killing. The elementary faculty, which focuses on the practice of magic. The tactics faculty, which focuses on theoretical guidance. The faculty of weapons, which focuses on improving weapon mastery. And finally, the faculty of professions, which focuses on training in enchantment, forging, medicine, alchemy, among others. Yun is clear, the faculties of tactics and professions are excluded. As for the remaining ones, they all seem suitable, so it is difficult to choose. Finally, they arrive at the dormitory, which is a big house just for him. It has everything. 3 floors, high-level facilities, and a separate training camp. It has a lot of things. That mansion is a privilege given to the top 50 students, while the students who don't stand out so much have to live in worse rooms and share with more people. She warns Yun that the treatment he is receiving will make the students jealous of him. She also adds that after the students' meeting, there will be a competition of the new students. So there will be many people who want to take Yun's place. He will have to be careful as everyone is watching his position. The system informs him that the competition is coming. He must keep the first place in this competition, and as a reward he will get a new skill level S. Yun is excited. He wants the competition to come at once. We are now on the 2nd day of university. At the new student conference, everyone saw Yun Chen and was jealous that he spent the night in a mansion while they slept on a hillside. This guy complained that he was also a province champion, but his qualification was much lower than Yun's. They also belittled him, saying that he had no profession and boasted that they could defeat him. Shen Taran, champion of Daju province, tells them that if they disagree, they can go to the arena to challenge Yun. Yi Qingling, champion of Donglan province, thinks the same. The runner-up from Jiangnan province was not at all happy that Yun had taken the first place from him, so he wants to go to the arena to take the first place from him. In the teaching building, the dean of the war faculty, Yi Anfu, saw how everyone was in an uproar over their rankings. The students in the student council are not very happy with Yun. The champions from other provinces are not happy either. They feel that Yun Chen has had the advantage of being someone from this very province. Yi Anfu says that the students seem to underestimate their level of evaluation. All the deans of the faculties have seen the test recordings. The dean of the faculty of weapons, Zia King Cheng, acknowledges that Yun's fighting skills are not bad. She clarifies that he is like her. He has a natural fighting instinct and wants to take charge of it. It was the first time Dean Zia paid so much attention to a student. She is usually very cold. Yi Anfu stands in front of the students. Yun read in the new student guide that among the 5 great faculties, war is the strongest. Yi Anfu understands all the complaints of the first-year students. That's why they decided to hold the new student competition in advance. She tells the students that they can go back to rest and later go to the South Cloud Square to start the fighting. The time has come. The battles are about to begin. They are in front of the dungeon doors, which are protected by official agencies, and the higher the level of the faculty, the more high-level secret doors they have. Everything indicated that the competition will be just like the entrance exam, where rankings will be decided through dungeons. Everyone is targeting Yun, but he is excited to see how strong the other provinces are. This guy is in charge of explaining to them, the novice competition is of utmost importance for the first years, as it is related to the living conditions they have there. There is no ban on the test. They can use potions and medicines at will. The competition has begun, the doors open and they enter the dungeon. Yun Chen enters a nightmare-level dungeon that would normally require 5 people. The dark and dank forest lair is home to a colony of trolls, and their warrior spirits grow stronger under the darkness. Yun wants to seize the time and finish quickly. The deans were watching the fighting. This guy is a shepherd on the side of the dark priests. Who knows what he is doing? What a weird guy. Next they go to see Yun, who has already finished off all the trolls and is on his way to the second room while the other students are just in the middle of the first battle. Yun broke the all-time record in that room. The dean of the elementary school, Lion Hexuan, carefully watches Yun's method. Most of the trolls are burnt and the trees around them are burnt. Yun used the whirlwind eye skill first, gathering the trolls in one place and then using the fireball to finish them off. The deans are already aware that Yun is at the highest level among the new students. But the second room is not only about combat power. The troll nest is the next room. It's a swamp. Yun can't move carelessly as he risks sinking. Analyzing the situation, he comes to the conclusion that to pass this room quickly requires a strong sense of perception. But that's something that certainly won't stop him. Yun-Chi uses affinity with nature, which allows him to feel the aura of nature by increasing his perception. The effect increases depending on the number of plants. As his affinity with nature is at level B+, that allows him to resonate with plants and communicate with them, no matter if they are trees, mosses, or creepers. They can all become his eyes and ears. Yun manages to get the direction to the third room. He goes quickly, using creepers to move, because if he touches the swamp below him, he won't be able to move well. Yun was being stalked by a troll, but he already knew that, and ends up defeating it with a fireball. As all the plants are Yun's eyes and ears, he can tell where all the trolls are. Next, he uses the druid ability, Growth, to trap the trolls. A normal growth can only accelerate the growth of plants and strengthen them, but Yun's is different. In addition to the basic effects, it has a special parasitic effect. As long as the plants can penetrate the enemy's body will become food for the plants. Yanfu mentions that the second test is the perception test. You must have a good ability to perceive, otherwise it is like being blind. In a battlefield environment, a lack of perception can affect either one person or a whole group. There are many skills that increase perception, such as the Dark Priest's Dark Sense, or the Mech's Echolocation and the Mage's Magic Surge. But Yun ended up choosing the Nature Affinity skill, which was certainly the most suitable for the environment. Yanfu says there are many ways to solve that test, like exploiting everything just like this mage does, or like that Blood Knight who relies on his strength and stamina to get him through. Yun crossed the swampy area. The rest of the way should be easier to cross. He notices that the layout of the room is similar to a labyrinth. Luckily, the plants helped him to perceive everything, so that test was not difficult at all. At the entrance to the next room, a huge troll was sleeping. It was the troll warrior captain. By the time he opened his eyes, Yun had already hit him with a fireball. Behind the door, there was the boss and many more trolls. He apologizes for not taking good care of the entrance. The boss forgives him and says he will crush the human. But who did he say he would crush? Yun Chen was already there, and with his skill, Cut in the Air, he defeats the troll captain. The troll boss was upset, and he wasn't alone. He was accompanied by troll hunters and troll shamans. A lot of monsters. Yun knows they won't be easy to deal with, yeah right. He then uses analysis and prepares to take them all out. The troll boss attacks what appears to be a frightened Yun. The boss thinks he used the cloning ability, so he wipes out all the clones with the help of his minions. Yun's clones were perishing and things didn't seem to be going well. One of the trolls seems to be able to use fireball, suspicious, but we'll see why. Soon after, the boss is left against the last one, so it was probably the original Yun. But he couldn't be more wrong, because he starts to fade away and in his place was a troll, and all this is just as Yun had planned it. In the eyes of the spectators, the troll boss had killed his own allies and stood by and watched as Yun Chen used fireball to kill the other trolls. This because the boss had been affected by Omnioji's novice ability, the spell used by Yun, Confusion of the Soul. Omnioji is a profession that only exists in the country of Fuseng, which serves to confuse the target's mind. But of course, the original soul confusion spell is not enough to confuse enemies that have higher levels than the user himself. If it worked that way, it is because Yun has improved his skills a lot. Yanfu mentions that Yun killed the troll captain in the eyes of the boss on purpose, in order to generate anger and hatred, thus greatly increasing the success rate of soul confusion. Yun is quite terrifying. He has calculated every little detail, but now that this ability has dissipated, he won't be able to use it again against the troll boss. Continuing the fight between the two, the troll boss steps into a trap set by Yun. During the period when the boss was confused, Yun has prepared many things. Yun uses another Omnioji skill, Lightning. Then he used Bone Spur, continuing with Rock Fall and ending with a Mech skill, Dangerous Device. The boss managed to get to Yun, but in a rather forced way. But it was a pity, because that which was waiting for him there was nothing more than a clone of Yun. The real one is behind him, and with the cut skill in the air, he manages to finish off the troll boss. With this, Yun successfully cleared the troll nest. This in a time of 11 minutes, plus he can now claim his rewards for completing that dungeon. These two talked about how strong Yun was. Trapping skills are difficult to use. They are even considered useless skills in many people's eyes, but Yun used them in a way that was an eye-opener to many. In the first dungeon, the first place remains the same. Yun Chen is first. Zia already took it for granted that she would have Yun Chen in her faculty, but Yanfu will not allow her to be snatched away from the war faculty. Yun hasn't even left the dungeon and these two are already fighting over him. However, the last word will be Yun's. In view of the difficulty and time in which Yun cleared the dungeon, the evaluation is SSS rank. He gets as a reward a lot of experience and 25 attribute and skill points. He also gets the Storm Axe, the title Troll Exterminator, and now Yun has 35% extra damage against trolls. Yun rises to level 16, again 3 levels in a row. Being first place, Yun will be awarded an achievement. He must choose between these three. Double cast, which when casting a spell will activate double the effect. Aura of empowerment, which increases attack speed and every third attack deals extra damage. And lastly, War Madness, which when attacking the same target, every attack will increase attack speed by 4%. By breaking the record in the entrance exam, Yun had already appeared Empowerment Aura, so if it has appeared twice in a row, that will be the one he will choose, as it also seems to be the most useful. It was time to go back, but suddenly something happens. Even though he had finished clearing the dungeon, a new unregistered stage has appeared. It was a hidden stage. Yun had heard of this before, but it was the first time he witnessed it. It was rumored that after clearing a dungeon, if some conditions were met, there was a small chance that an additional dungeon stage would appear. Inside there would be a special monster that could be very dangerous, but at the same time, defeating it can give very special rewards since it is an unofficial stage. If it enters, it won't affect the grades or the record, and since it won't affect his grades and Yun still has energy to spare, why not? A student comes out of the dungeon and believes he is the first to do so, so he starts bragging about his supposed victory. This one also believes that Yun Chen was not the first to complete the dungeon. He mentions that it seems that the path of someone without a profession is still not working. Many came out and Yun Chen did not appear in the top 10. Then this girl looks at the screen to realize that Yun is in a dungeon nothing like the ones they were in. That's where they realize that Yun is in a hidden stage. Some start to say it's cheating. Yanfu reassures them. He tells them to wait for the result quietly. The screen turns off. Yanfu didn't think Yun would activate that hidden room. That is no longer suitable to be seen by the students. That's why they turned it off. We return to Yun. The room he is in is small and there are no monsters except for that scarecrow. He wonders if that is his enemy. The cursed straw man. It was level 1, and encountering it is definitely not a good thing. Yun thinks he is seeing wrong, as the scarecrow is level 1. But he also knows that this monster is very rare and should be cautious. It looks like it will start attacking. Yun thinks it best to summon his water elementals to gauge the monster's strength level, but the monster is too fast. Yun dodges with Divine Flash, barely managing to dodge it. Yun notices that the scarecrow has some of his hair. Apparently that was his target. Suddenly, the scarecrow starts acting strange. Yun rushes and tries to hit it using the combo Wind Steps and Fire Fist, but to his surprise, he has been hit by his own ability as if the attack had been reflected. But in reality it wasn't, because the monster also received the attack. Besides that, the monster has become just like Yun and starts to hit itself. This because all the damage the monster receives will also affect Yun directly. Yun can't hurt it or let it hurt himself. In desperation, he tries to stop it, but the monster hits him in the leg. Yun uses Creeper, but the monster hits an arm to cancel the attack. However, thanks to this last hit, Yun managed to figure it out. It turns out that this monster is also not as strong as he imagined. Yanfu acknowledges the tough confrontation Yun is having. Xiao mentions that the cursed straw man is a difficult opponent, but he won't really be his opponent. She mentions that Yun's expression is calm and shows no panic in his eyes. That mentality will be enough for Yun to overcome any difficulty. Back to the fight. Yun managed to decipher the monster's ability. He doesn't bind his life together with Yun's, but the damage he receives is transferred to him and he only pretends to have the same injuries. Yun uses healing. Yun knows that this is a level 1 monster, so its life cannot be equal to his own, which is level 16, so the amount of recovery from his healing ability is enough to heal the monster completely, but he has only recovered his right hand. Yun knows that it is impossible for the straw man to have copied all of his attributes. He proves this by punching the wall. What would break is the wall and not the fist as it happens there, so he hasn't actually copied Yun's attributes. The conditions are the same. The damage they both receive is transferred to the other party. As the monster was afraid that Yun would find that out, he pretended to be injured. Yun asks him the following question: if his attributes are much higher than the monster's, if he were to injure himself, will the monster be able to withstand all the damage? It worked. Luckily, the straw man was level 1. If it had been the same level as Yun or higher, it wouldn't have been so easy to deal with. Yun gets a cursed straw man accessory. The effect is as follows. It wraps the target's hair around the neck of the cursed straw man so that the damage suffered by the straw man can be transferred to the target. This effect ignores the level of the target. Yun recognizes that this is an amazing accessory. It could have a great effect if used correctly. Outside the dungeon, everyone was waiting for Yun to come out. Moments later, he finally comes out and asks everyone why they were standing there waiting. Clearly Yun broke the record, so he must be the first to clear the dungeon. But the system mission is still not completed. Maybe it's because the freshman competition is not over. Yanfu comes down to the battlefield to tell them that someone has not qualified for the ranking because he has done something that is not up to his name, as he cheated and researched the test beforehand, so he came prepared. That person was this guy, who doesn't know how the old man figured it out. To test the strengths and determine the ranks of the students, there will be a one-on-one competition. Yanfu creates an arena out of nothing. The rules are simple, students can challenge anyone, and once they win, they will replace the ranking position of the person they challenge and take away college credits. You are not allowed to turn down a challenge. People start to challenge each other. Yun comes to his senses. It is because of the one-on-one competition that the system's mission has not been completed. With so many people looking down on Yun, he is sure to be in for a very heated situation. Yun stands before everyone and tells them that the opportunity has come for them to face him if they want their first place. This bald man challenges Yun, as does Yun. Yun thinks that facing each other would be annoying, so he asks them to attack together. The fight begins and they both attack Yun, but they are too slow. Yun uses Stomp and affects a large area. Even this teacher had to use Shield. If he hadn't acted in time, many people would have been affected. As expected, both the bald guy and the other one could do absolutely nothing against Yun, so he obviously ends up winning. The teacher already knows how strong Yun is and is afraid that he will end up killing someone unintentionally. Yun stands up again in front of all the students and asks who is going to challenge him next. Everything indicated that no one wanted to fight him. This guy mentions that although the trample skill can cause damage and stun, it depends on the strength attribute of the user. Yun stunned a fighter and a warrior at the same time for a long time. People were babbling. They even said that Yun was the cheater that the dean mentioned. But the real cheater is this guy in green. He already knows why Yun has been placed in the first place. It is very unlikely that anyone will dare to face him from now on, or so they thought, because Shen Terran, #1 student of Daju province, challenges Yun. Terran handles the hidden profession of Blood Knight. A high-level confrontation is about to begin. Terran is not the only one who challenges him, so does this beautiful woman. She is the champion of Zionai province, the elven swordswoman Nicole. She is not just any elf, she is a silver moon elf. She belongs to one of the noblest types of elves. Her values and attributes are far superior to humans from birth. There are rumors that Nicole's awakened talent is S level. The two fight to see who will go first, but Yun tells them they can go up together. Still, Terran goes up first. The battle begins. Terran attacks with Blood Shadow Spike. It was such a strong attack that the energy shield protecting the arena has cracked. But the most impressive thing is that Yun barely moved to dodge that powerful attack. Terran's posture doesn't seem to be very good. Even the distance of each step is precise to give Yun no chance to move. It's like he's a precision machine. Yun tells him that he's an extremely stiff guy, then he attacks him with fireballs. Terran manages to block them, then Yun uses vines to trap him. Terran says that with novice skills it's impossible for him to do any damage. Yun uses growth. The silver that trapped Terran starts to even go through his armor to absorb his life force. What was it this guy said before? Terran uses bloody flare to burn the vines, but Yun won't allow it. He uses water curtain, a giant one that surprises everyone. It was like a miniature waterfall. Yun uses the spearman skill, stab. Terran is worried. Yun not only killed his blood flames, but even made the vines grow faster with the water. He can't move at all. Terran uses an ability he didn't expect to have to use, Blood Escape, then appears behind Yun and prepares to attack. But Yun quickly blocks the attack. Terran was frustrated to see how Yun's skills were superior to his. Terran launches continuous attacks. Yun responds by blocking them all. Terran opts to use Blood Shadow Spike again. It's just what Yun expected. He moves quickly, uses sweep and hits Terran, who thinks it was just pure luck and wants to continue. But the fight is already over because using stealth, Yun got behind him without him noticing. Yun is the winner. Terran's 2,000 credits now belong to him. The spectators were celebrating Yun's victory, when until recently they looked down on him. Ianfu acknowledges that Terran is an excellent student, as there has never been a student who understood so well and followed a book so closely. But unfortunately, a book cannot tell him how to fight against someone without a profession. Nicole jumps onto the battle platform. She tells Yun that she is really strong, but clarifies that he did beat Terran only because of his superior agility. She assures him that he won't have the same advantage against her. Yun and Nicole prepare for the next match. The boy with no profession against the Silver Moon Elf, the blood of a mortal against the blood of the Silver Moon Elves. At first glance it seems to be an abysmal difference. But this same guy says so. Yun managed to defeat the Blood Knight, so you can't tell who is stronger between these two. Nicole tells Yun that since he just finished a fight, he'd better recover with potions, as she doesn't want to take advantage of him. But Yun doesn't need to. The fight begins. The more distance there is, the stronger Yun is. Nicole uses Silver Moon Sword Blast. Yun manages to dodge it and recognizes that she uses that technique to increase the attack range of the weapon. It's the first time he sees something like that. Nicole continues to attack with the same technique, causing damage to the shield. Onlookers believe that Yun is just dodging. Silver Moon Elves have a special bloodline that grows stronger as they approach the late stage. Nicole recognizes that Yun's agility is high as he managed to dodge all of her attacks, but the space in the arena is limited, so she will keep attacking with everything until Yun can't dodge. Nicole uses Silver Moon Glow. Yun knows that Nicole is very mindful of her speed and has tried to limit it, but at the cost of blindly using her attack range, her weakness was exposed. Yun moves forward while dodging Nicole's attack by sliding, then changes the shape of his weapon to those of dual pistols. Nicole notices that the quality of the guns is low, so she thinks that Yun's aim is not to attack her, but to attract her attention. But he has come so close, she does not have time to defend herself. Yun uses a throat slash, but just as Nicole thought, he wanted to get closer. Her gamble was successful. Nicole uses the secret technique of blood, Silver Moon Glow, to send Yun flying. Although this technique uses a lot of energy and can only be used once, for her it was worth it. Because right now, Yun is in the air and cannot dodge or defend himself, she prepares an arrow, but then Yun begins to dissipate. She thinks he came out of the arena, but in reality, Yun was behind her. That was a clone. Nicole doesn't know at what point this happened. Yun tells her that he set everything up when she was blocking his bullets and her concentration was focused on them. If Yun wanted to attack her head-on, fighter skills were better, but he still chose assassin skills. Since the clone can only use assassin skills, he ends up telling Nicole that she is still very inexperienced. Nicole has no choice but to accept her defeat. Yun wins the match and Nicole's 15-0 credit points. The spectators were amazed by Yun's unrelenting strength and skill. It is the first time Nicole has lost to someone her own age after so many years. She is not happy, so she wants a rematch afterwards. Zia recognized that although Nicole is not as good as Yun, she is very strong and has dared to fight with everything, so she will take it up with the faculty. This guy tells Yanfu to talk to Yun about changing his profession, because despite seeing him fight, they think he will have no future because of the limitation of not having a profession. Yanfu doesn't want to force him into anything. Whether he has a profession or not is up to Yun. He is able to create a unique path for himself. Yun is already bored of having such crushing battles in his favor, so he tells them whether they are 5 or 10 to all go against him. The students are annoyed by Yun's arrogance and prepare to attack him because according to them, Yun must have no strength left after fighting Terran and Nicole. Yun uses lighting to blind them all, then throws fireballs at them and finishes them all off. Yun bets it's going to be quiet now. Throughout the history of Zhongnan University, and even in the entire history of Xuanlong country, there has never been a student who can single-handedly take on everyone with his strength. But that happened now. Yun possesses superior attributes and varied skills, in addition to calm judgment, perfect use of weapons, and exquisite combat experience. A person with just one of those characteristics would already take him to the peak of power, but Yun Chen has it all. Generally speaking, when there is a difference between people, it often gives rise to feelings such as jealousy, envy, inferiority, and many more emotions. However, when the difference is too great, those emotions disappear completely and are eventually replaced by a sense of distance, admiration, or numbness. People can only accept the reality. People admired Yun, and although the results have not yet been announced, it is very certain that the first place will be Yun, so they are trying to take him out of the equation and guess who will be the second place. Next, the ranking of the first-year students will be announced. First place, clearly Yun Chen. Second place, Terran. Third place, Nicole. And fourth place, Yi Qingling. Yun completes the mission. Keeping the first place as a reward, he receives an S-level ability called Invincible, which makes him immune to all damage and control for 3 seconds. He also receives a lucky potion, which after being used, will give him luck for 24 hours. Both Divine Flash and Invincible are divine abilities to save his own life. It's as if the system is afraid that something will happen to him. The guy who had cheated came 26th. Everyone laughs at him. Yanfu concludes the competition and tells everyone that no matter what the results are, they should prepare themselves mentally to accept the reality. Then they will start with the faculty assignments. Yanfu mentions that his war faculty is born to kill and uses war to end war. The overall strength of the war faculty is the strongest, but this means that if you choose it, you will be sent to the battlefield. As for the Ice Queen, Zia, last year she forgot to contain her killer aura and directly fainted many new students. She has also gone to the battlefield and killed the Demon Lord. Yun read a university record, where it said that Zia was the youngest dean in history. She is only 27 years old, but she has already fought on the battlefield for 8 years. She is currently 3rd rank and rumored to have defeated a 4th rank war god. Zia asks Yun to join the weapons faculty. Yanfu is no slouch and opens the doors to the war faculty. The mage lord also doesn't want to miss out and offers Yun a place in his faculty. Yun thinks the conditions of both powers are very tempting and suitable for him. It is difficult to decide. Then, everyone feels a strange aura aura. It was Zia, who was using the essence of the Demon Lord, which is the ultimate proof that she defeated the Demon Lord. This item, after being used for a long time, improves the physique. Every time you level up, you get more attribute and skill points. The effect lasts until level 70, and by taking it, there is a small chance of getting the innate lineage of the original Demon Lord. They try to surprise Yun with either money or extravagant items to get him to choose one of his faculties. Every faculty takes students based on performance. With excellent students, it would make it easier for the faculty to get more resources. That's why every year in the freshman year there is a big war to take the most talented students. The only exception was Zia, who has never taken any students, does not care about her own performance, and it is a mystery why she left the battlefield to become a teacher, which is why Yun ends up choosing to go to the weapons faculty. Yun goes to the office building of the weapons faculty. Nicole was there too, as they had both been chosen by Zia. Nicole can't believe how she could lose to someone as unsympathetic as Yun. Moments later, they are both taken to Dean Zia's treasury, where there are many corpses and bones of demonic beasts. It was like a museum. Seeing this, Yun says that Zia would be the strongest person he has ever seen in his life. Zia was waiting for them. She tells Kathy, who is an elf just like Nicole, that it is more suitable for her to teach her. As for Yun Chen, Zia goes to the point. She tells him to prepare to absorb that Demon Lord essence. But before obtaining it, Yun has a question. How did Zia obtain the essence of the Demon Lord? Was it just as the rumors say? Did she kill the Demon Lord? The answer is yes, she killed the Lady of the Night with her own hands, and through a divine level alchemist, she was able to extract the essence of the Demon Lord from the corpse. Since the books don't explain anything about the Demon Lord, Zia will take it upon herself to explain to Yun the truth of that world. And the enemy. Aren't the enemies the monsters that came from the game? The monsters are just one of the enemies. 70 years ago, when the real world was superimposed on the game, many more races appeared: dwarves, elves, giants, demons. But at the end of the day, those were players who had chosen other races within the game, so their essences were still those of a human born in the real world. Zia explains that outside that world there is still another world, which they have called the Dark World. The Dark World is full of demons that invade the world they are in through spatial rifts, causing great disasters. In this world, the strongest are people of 4th rank professions, such as God of War, Divine Mage, Divine Fighter, among others, while the most powerful among the descendants of demons are known as Demon Lords. At present, humans know very little about Demon Lords. They only know that they are very strong and that their combat power is equivalent to 2 4th rank professions. Yun asks Zia how humans have managed to obtain the formula to make the essence of the Demon Lord. But she replies that the formula was not created by a human being, it was obtained through the gift of a god. The game God's Domain is a creation of God, and humans are also a creation of God. Even now they can communicate with the Creator God through sacrifices or exchanges. They have to sacrifice everything that has value, especially the demons of the rift, and so the heavens will answer them. That is how the formula for the essence of the Demon Lord was one of the gifts of God. In addition to various magical medicines and occult professions, all have been obtained through a sacrifice of other items. Yun is surprised, as all this information has never been told to him before and he couldn't even find it on the internet. Zia tells him that he can take the essence of the Demon Lord, but she doesn't know if he can get the innate lineage of the Lady of the Night. The probability is low and depends on Yun's physique. He decides to rest for an hour before taking the essence. Zia tells him to go to rest in the office, as there will be someone there to prepare food for him. She will come to pick him up in an hour. In the office, Yun looks at the divine beast that has a contract with the Dean. But even with analysis he can't see its name. It must be because of the great difference in strength. Some female servants of the demon race arrive to attend to Yun. It is the first time he has seen something like this. Everyone in the Xuanlong country is equal, no matter if they are human or another race. And it is not allowed to make soul contracts with a servant-master relationship unless it is a monster, a foreign race, or a demon that comes from the rift. Yun tells both of them that they can go to rest, while thinking that they might be descendants of demons. The essence of the Demon Lord is very valuable and uncontrollable. If Yun doesn't get the talent of the Lady of the Night, it will be a great loss. That's why he will take the lucky potion he got before. After drinking it, he doesn't feel any change, but the duration is 24 hours. He just has to wait for it to take effect. 1 hour later, he goes to see Zia. She warns him that the essence has a strong effect, and when Yun absorbs it, he will feel great pain. It begins. Yun uses the essence. It hurts a lot. The strength of the essence explodes inside his body. Zia attends him and tells him that there is no power that comes for free. He must endure if he wants to have the innate blood of the Demon Lord. Zia will only be able to ease the pain a little. Kathy arrives to inform Zia about Nicole and finds Yun on the floor fighting for his life, but they misunderstood this situation, as they thought those two were doing adult things. Yun's ability, super self-healing, has activated by itself, which shouldn't happen, as the Demon Lord's essence is not supposed to be fake. It's already completed. Yun's attributes have suddenly gone up a lot. Zia explains to Yun that the Lady of the Night has two innate talents. These are Pupil of the Night and Dark Night. Everything indicated that Yun possessed both. The Pupil of Night technique allows him some control over what is blocked from view, while Dark Night will increase various attributes and skill effects under the Dark Night state. The levels of both techniques are not very high, though. Zia is surprised, as never before has anyone been able to absorb the essence of the Demon Lord so perfectly. Yun's talent and physique have completely surpassed her expectations. This is probably due to the good luck potion Yun took earlier. Zia explains to Yun that the fact that the new techniques are low level is normal, because the Lady of the Night's talents are evolutionary talents. They can go up to level S+, those techniques will grow with Yun. Yun acknowledges that even though Zia looks pretty cold, he notices that she cares about him, so he plans to repay her well in the future. From there we go to a cave where a demon is very angry, by the way, because he already knew that the humans took the power of the Lady of the Night. This hooded guy tells the demon not to worry, because he will kill Yun and bring him the heart, and if he succeeds in doing so, the demon will give him the essence of the God of War as a reward. Yun is in the dormitory. He throws a plate into the air and using Night Pupil, he makes it freeze in the air. According to what Zia says, after the Pupil of the Night is raised to level S+, this ability can control the whole space and block everything. It is even better than most of the abilities of this level. But speaking of that, if the Lady of the Night is so strong and this one has been killed by teacher Zia, how powerful is her? Yun is heading to class. These two girls think that Yun will be the master in the future because they think he has a relationship with Zia, but it's all a misunderstanding. The effect of the lucky potion is still active and the misunderstanding is still in effect. Could it be that this misunderstanding is a good thing for Yun? Yun's streak of good luck continues. Money is found. A couple of girls let him see their panties. He has free food at a restaurant for being the 10,000th customer. That potion is really amazing. Yun must think of a good way to use it. Yun will complete the daily quests every day. The first two daily quest rewards don't change, while the third one is random. He hopes that with the lucky potion, he will get a quest that suits him. The third quest reward is to get random enchantment materials. Yun gets Dragon Burning Blood. When used to enchant, he can add the effects of intimidation and dragon slaying to the equipment. It is a fairly high-level enchantment material, just as Yun thought. In order to get more out of the lucky potion, he will have to go enchanting things. Later, the class ends and Yun leaves in a hurry. Nicole notices him, so she follows him unconsciously. She wants to believe that she is there to observe the moves of her enemy, because if she wants to defeat Yun, she will have to understand him first. But there is a problem. She starts to see Yun more handsome suddenly. With one glance, he looks completely her type. For that reason, she couldn't even pay attention to the class. Yun goes to the enchantment room. Nicole talks to him unconsciously. She thinks that enchantment is exciting, since it is always one step away from heaven and hell. If successful, the equipment will increase 1 star and the attributes improve explosively, but if failed, the equipment can lose 1 star and even be destroyed. Yun buys some materials. The materials that Yun selected are products that are being sold for 30% off, a total of 31 credit points. Nicole is surprised to see Yun spend more than 3,000 credits as if it were nothing. Moments later, Yun starts enchanting. The first enchantment is successful. He manages to enchant the Formation Breaker. It now improves 1 star and has much better attributes than before. However, he continues to enchant. The light it emits is too strong, surprising the nearby students. Yun manages to enchant the Formation Breaker again, further increasing his stars and attributes. Nicole is surprised, as she thinks that Yun hasn't used any tricks. He has simply put the materials and let the enchantment table do everything. Nicole warns Yun to stop, as from 7 stars to 8 there is only a 1% success rate, but Yun ignores her and continues to enchant. If he succeeds, the attributes will be doubled again and even a new special attribute will be added. But the odds are too low, and if he fails, the team will be destroyed. To no one's surprise, the enchantment is successful. Now Formation Breaker has 8 stars, has incredible attributes, and now 2 skills called Burning Blood, Dragon Roar, and Dragon Slayer. Nicole is surprised to see the attributes that a gold quality weapon can have. Even ordinary diamond quality weapons can't reach such a level. Yun is happy. The new attributes are not bad at all. That said, he has nothing to do there anymore. But this guy stops him and asks him to sell him his weapon. Yun refuses completely. The people around are surprised that Yun has dared to contradict Lin Lei. This guy is a man with a violent temperament. Besides being a member of the student council, on top of that, he has some dragon blood. In the university, fighting outside the arena is forbidden, but they consider that offending Lei is not a good decision. Nicole laughs as she notices that the upperclassmen didn't see the freshman competition, so they don't know Yun. Lei insists Yun buy the weapon from him, but Yun uses intimidation, which subconsciously makes Lei feel afraid. Yun continues to bully him, and the closer he gets to Lei, the more afraid he becomes, until he falls down and asks Yun not to come any closer as students are forbidden to fight outside the arena. After this, Yun leaves as he still has some time from the lucky potion and wants to take advantage of it. Nicole goes with him. Later she asks him how he has managed to enchant the weapon in a row to get 8 stars. Yun tells her that he is in a hurry. When he comes back, he will tell her about it. He came to the library because in the first place, the condition they have given him to recruit him in that university was to let him freely read all the skills in the library. Still, it is very difficult to find suitable skill books in such a wide place, but with the effect of the lucky potion, even if he chooses randomly, he will be able to find the most suitable book for him. Yun holds 2 books, one of a druid profession and one of an occult profession, Shadow Stabber. Although Yun has learned novice druid skills, he does not have them all, and notices that a skill called tracking is only available at university. So he acquires this skill, which will allow him to quickly track the location of a target through traces left by the target. As for the Shadow Stabber's skills, they are much better than those of an ordinary assassin. It can be considered as a high-ranking replacement for the assassin profession, as well as having very practical rookie skills. Yun acquires the Shadow Escape ability, which turns his entire body into a shadow, and makes him immune to control abilities, and he also acquires the Shadow Steal ability, which allows him to steal items, equipment, buffs, basic attributes, and skills. The Shadow Escape skill is similar to the Blood Escape skill used by Terran before, and the Shadow Steal is not bad at all. He can use it to steal an opponent's weapon or a mage's shield. That said, he has more or less learned enough skills. He should make use of the time and go to his next destination. Nicole continues to follow him. This time Yun went to choose a mount. He wants to buy this little guy, as he has been looking at him since the first moment he entered the farm. With the lucky potion, choosing him now must be the right thing to do. Nicole complains as Yun chose something that looks weak. Even the one who sells the mounts is surprised and offers him a very low price to take that mount. Yun throws him a super add-on. When the mount takes it, the appearance changes completely immediately. It was a mutant griffin. The seller regrets not noticing it earlier. He lost a lot with that sale. From now on, this griffin will be Yun's mount. The name will be Little Naive. That taste in naming is too bad. But anyway, Yun and Nicole get on Little Naive, as Yun still has a little bit of the lucky potion left, so he hurries. The next destination is the Summon Beast Training Base, Plant Storehouse. It's already too late, so only the plant warehouse of the training base is still open. Fortunately, Yun is good at druid skills, so a plant-type summon beast is also suitable. Normal skills can be boosted with his talent, only the summoner skill is a special case. Yun looks at the beasts, a carnivorous flower platinum level, a shadow tree gold level, a flame cactus diamond level. Yun knows that a summoner's strength depends on what he summons, and the only thing he has contracted with so far is a very basic water elemental. The water elemental's upgrade limit is very low, it can't even take damage, so he needs a summon with a strong growth level. Yun looks at thorn fairies, this one in particular, which, although it looks small, is quite lively. However, unlike the others which are of diamond quality, this one is of gold quality. The seller explains that the innate attitude of this fairy is not very good, therefore it does not grow well, and on top of that it eats a lot, besides being very delicate. Yun is clear, he wants this one, not for anything in particular, because for now the maximum quality with which he can establish a contract is with a gold quality one. And this little fairy is the most suitable, because besides being able to have a contract with her, she also has a very high growth limit. Yun buys the little one, together with the pot and 3 months of rations, for a total of 38 credits. It has been a long time and Nicole still wants to talk to Yun, who is wondering how long Nicole would follow him. Nicole asks to borrow 15 credits because in the competition, Yun took away all her points. Yun has no problem with that because he has 8,000 credits. Yun goes back to the dorm. Nicole thanks him and tells him she will pay him back in half a month. There she realizes that as cold as Yun seems, he is actually a nice guy. 3 months later, in the office of the Dean of the War Faculty, Yi Anfu asks Teacher Lai how the first-year students are doing. She replies that they are the same as the previous years, they are all being very independent, after all. They are the best students in their own areas, so no one obeys anyone. Yi Anfu asks her about Yun Chen. He is currently trying hard and attending classes of all professions, from dagger handling to sniper, all with excellent grades. But he is the loneliest person. Leaving aside the occasional contact with Nicole, Yun ignores any student. Yanfu is worried about this because after the students graduate, they have to go to the battlefield, so they must know how to cooperate with each other. In Chuanlong country, a national freshman exchange competition is organized every year. Yanfu, taking into account the previous years, knows that the participating teams are formed around the best freshmen, so he asks Lai to help him call the top 20. At the archery training ground, Yun and Nicole were having a little test. Nicole attacks Yun with nature's arrow, while Yun responds by shooting at the target and then chasing arrow. A very fast counterattack ended up beating Nicole again. Nicole wanted to take advantage of Yun's inexperience with the bow and arrow, but was unable to do so. Since Yun started learning archery, he has had to pay for Nicole's lunch for 3 months. So now it's her turn to buy him lunch. The vice principal calls Yun and Nicole to the training room. In addition to being the dean of the war faculty, Yanfu is the deputy principal of the university. The top 20 students have not been together since the freshman competition. Yun is not even aware of the competition, so Nicole explains to him, it is a national competition held every year where all universities participate. In recent years, Jiangnan University has won 3 times in a row, but this year a new test called Survival Game will be added. Upon detecting the start of the competition, Yun gets a new mission. He must win the championship to receive an S-level skill and attribute points. Yanfu arrives and tells everyone that it is Kingyun University's turn to host that year's competition. Nicole asks Yanfu if the selected 20 people will go, since only 7 people are needed in the group competition. He replies that the new survival mode requires 20 people to participate. By that time, the 20 will be randomly placed in a big field and they can get minutes by finding resources and killing monsters. All those points will be added up to determine the position. Being called a survival game, they have to watch out for both monsters and students from other universities. The captain of the team will be Yun Chen, since he is number 1. Everyone celebrates, except Taryn, who is still upset because he was defeated. As for the individual competition, only 3 people can do it, so it will be Yun, Taryn, and Nicole. And as for the 7 people in the group competition, Yun wants to choose the team members. Yun Chen delivers the team list. They are Yun, Taryn, Nicole, Kingeling, Lin Yaksu, Sun Kang, and Guo Feiken. Yanfu is upset because he thinks it is a horrible team. For a long time, Jiangnan University has been able to win the competition 3 times in a row because they had 2 warriors to hold in front, 2 mages to deal damage, 1 healer, and 2 multi-purpose professions to take control. But with Yun's chosen team, they only have 2 tanks in front and can only go head-on. They don't even have a mage. Lai tells Yanfu that they may not understand someone without a profession because they have a unique plan. They can also reject the team created. But Yanfu does not consider it necessary. They can go to sea first. In the training room, people were confused by the team formed by Yun. Some, like this one, complained. Not only that, he also demanded to put Zhu Hong in the team. This is the same guy who cheated before. Yaksu completely refuses, just like Yun. And that's how the first part of this manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a second part, comment below with the word part 2. Also subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell and like the video. But most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.